Colors, hose.
Forward, march. Mark time, mark. Colors, hold. Right, hey. Hose, colors. Present, her. Order, her. Hey. Forward, march.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for the singing of our national anthem by Riverside Chorus.
Forward, march. Left, right. Left, right. Outside, march. Left, right. Left. Inside, hold. Center, face.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose first stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free?
Ready, face. Forward, march.
Let us pray. The message
For God receive, give thanks, O Lord. Bless our academy and our families, daily aspirations of our nation, and thank you that we can perform our country.
Take seats.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the President of Riverside Military Academy, Colonel William J. Gallagher.
Good morning, everyone. How's everybody doing today? Everybody have a good Thanksgiving break?
Yes, sir.
Who ate the most turkey? Can I see a show of hands? Anybody eat the whole turkey? Wow. Well, welcome back. I'm sure you're as glad to be back as I'm glad to have you back. Is that a true statement? No. Okay. But it's reality. So we're going to make the best of it. And for the next hour, we're going to really make the best of it. And I'd like to welcome you all to today's presentation of the Norman P. Blake Family Distinguished Speaker Series. I want to ask you something. What kind of a leader are you? So you might be thinking about that right now, to answer that question for yourself. Let me offer a few thoughts on what to think about when you're asked the question, or you ask yourself, what kind of a leader am I? First and foremost, your leadership ability will always be gauged on how well your people perform. The fact that you're good at something is nice, but your leadership is based on how well your people perform, how well the organization that you lead performs. So you could be a team leader here, you could be a squad leader, you could be a platoon sergeant, platoon leader, a company commander, a first sergeant, sergeant major, or the battalion commander. And your leadership is as good as the people you lead and the organization you lead. That's the first thing. Second thing is how well respected are you by your peers? You show me somebody who is well respected by his or her peers, and I'll show you generally a very good person. So ask yourself, how well do you get along with, and how well are you respected by your peers? Third thing, how well balanced are you? Do you have a wide variety of interests? Are you sound in mind and body and spirit? Are you challenging yourself mentally, physically, morally, ethically, and in your leadership every day here? Because let me tell you something. It's my job to make sure that we put the challenges in front of you. So if you're not taking advantage of that, then shame on you. You're letting a big opportunity slip by. My goal is to make you better, and our goal as staff and faculty is to make you better in those 4 areas. So how well balanced are you is the third thing. The fourth thing is, are you leading from a moral and ethical perspective? Do you have the guts to stand up and do what's right over cave in and taking the easy or wrong course of action? So when I ask you that question, how's your leadership? What kind of a leader are you? Think about those 4 areas. Unfortunately, today for all of us, we have a leader who excels and has demonstrated incredible proficiency in all 4 of those areas. Ms. Carol Burrell is the president and CEO of the Northeast Georgia Health System, a vast system of comprehensive care for all ages and all types of illnesses here in Georgia. And she's been a part of that senior management team at NGHS, Northeast Georgia Health System, for almost 2 decades. And before the current position she has, she was the executive vice president and also the chief operating officer, 2 key billets that prepare a person to be a CEO and a president. Under Ms. Burrell's leadership, NGHS's flagship hospital right here in Gainesville, the Northeast Georgia Medical Center, not far from where we are right now, has been named Georgia's #1 hospital in 2014, 15, and 16. It's been named one of America's top 50 hospitals for the last 4 years. And it's been named as the nation's top 100 hospitals 2009, 2013, and 2014. And for the last 12 years in a row, it's been named Georgia's top cardiac care hospital in the state of Georgia, 12 years in a row. So by my first criteria, what kind of a leader are you? How does your organization do? I think that answers the question in our guest speaker's case. Ms. Burrell has led the system's construction of Georgia's first new major hospital in almost 20 years. And that's the one in Braselton, which is a Northeast Georgia Medical System hospital now. In December of 2016, NGHS and that hospital in Barrow acquired Barrow, making it the system's 3rd hospital campus. The influence of Ms. Burrell's leadership is seen throughout the NGHS system. She influences the culture of the organization. She focuses the organization on its core values of patient care, honesty, hard work, ethical behavior. And she is constantly leading her organization to improve itself. No matter how good you get, if you're not pushing yourself to improve, your competition is going to do you in, because they are pushing themselves to improve. Her achievements at NGHS have been recognized statewide. Georgia Trend magazine, the photo you see up front, recognized our speaker as the business leader in the entire state of Georgia, most admired by her peers and other professionals for this year. So by the second and third criteria about what makes a good leader, I think our guest speaker checks those off as well. Her achievements at NGHS have been widely recognized. Locally, the Greater Hall Chamber of Commerce has presented her with the 2017 Distinguished Citizen Award, and the Gainesville Rotary Club bestowed her with their annual 2015 Guardian of Ethics Award, a very important award which recognizes a member who exemplifies a strong passion for ethics in both personal and professional lives. Now, what your profession is when you join the working world, whether you're wearing a uniform or you're wearing a coat and tie or you're wearing some other clothing to work, at the end of the day, you're still you, and your ethical lifestyle and the standards you hold for yourself in the workplace have to carry on to the home life, or you're just a charade. You're just faking yourself and everybody else. Miss Burrell was born and raised in Carl, Georgia. She earned her bachelor's degree in medical technology from Georgia Southern and Emory University and her master's degree in healthcare administration from Central Michigan University. Prior to joining NGHS, she served as the executive director and chief operating officer for an organization called Phi Corps down in Jacksonville, Florida. She's active in our local Rotary, in the Greater Hall County Chamber of Commerce, and the United Way of Hall County, and she's the past board chairperson for the Northeast Georgia chapter of the American Red Cross. It is very, I think, reassuring for us in the Gainesville community, really in the Northeast Georgia community, to know that a person of Miss Burrell's character and competence and ethics is at the helm of a system that impacts so many lives every day and so many families every day. She works every day at the nexus, at the intersection of major facilities, big bucks, huge egos, life and death situations, and distraught, anguished, and happy families, all coming together at one intersection, and the buck stops at her desk. So it's very reassuring to know that somebody of that caliber is in charge of our medical system. Very reassuring indeed, and it's my honor to welcome here to the stage at Riverside Military Academy, Ms. Burrell.
Thank you, Colonel Gallagher. Good morning. I love it. When I do that with my staff, I usually have to call for it twice, so you get an A right off the bat. I feel very privileged to be here this morning. In my role, you can imagine that I'm frequently speaking to large crowds. In fact, just last year, I was privileged to speak at my own alma mater, Georgia Southern University, which was quite an honor. I've shared the Northeast Georgia Health System story at several national conferences, and I often address professional and civic groups throughout the region and the state. But despite all that experience and that background, I've got to be honest and tell you that I've had a little bit of anxiety about coming here today. First of all, I learned I was following Miss America. Then after Miss America, I heard that you had this incredible story from a Holocaust survivor. Really? And now I'm up here? So how can I even come close to that? But I gotta tell you that probably my greatest source of anxiety for this is actually a first for me. I've never been in front of a room full of young men, primarily, there are a few ladies here, but primarily young men. So as you might imagine, I'm often asked to speak to a number of groups, but women's groups in particular, categories like women in leadership, how to balance life and career as a businesswoman. Those are things that I'm very familiar with, and they're in my wheelhouse. So when Colonel Gallagher asked if I would be willing to speak during your Distinguished Speaker Series, I was, of course, very honored, quite flattered, and I quickly accepted. And then I stopped to think, what am I going to say to a room full of young guys? But as I thought about it, I would say that the same leadership principles that apply to men apply to women, and that is the case in reverse. So I'm going to share with you today some of the same life lessons that I've shared with those other groups, and I feel pretty certain that they're going to resonate with you as well. At the very least, hopefully you'll be able to take something away that you can impress your mom with later. I still haven't gotten used to seeing myself on this magazine cover. It is something that I'm very proud of, but it still makes me more than a little uncomfortable. As Colonel Gallagher pointed out, my success has always been about team, not about I. But it's the success that we achieve together as a team. So seeing myself there individually still is a little hard for me.